Man, this week's episode of Boku no Hero Academia Season 2, Episode 9 was a thrill ride. I did not expect such an intense match between Uraraka and Kacchan. Now, I did say back in last week's review that Uraraka was going to lose against Kacchan, but she lost with grace. She lost without ever giving up once, and she only lost because she fainted. I don't know what would have happened if she did not exhaust her whole entire strength, and how everything would have went down really between her and Kacchan. But I'm really glad that she gave it her all till the very end, till she had nothing left in her to give. And even though Kacchan did win, I would have to say that Uraraka was, I would say she is actually the victor of this match. Why? Because she was the one that was leading Kacchan. She was just playing ring around the rosy with him. She was pulling his strings, and how the whole battle was going down was, for Uraraka, she needed to touch Kacchan in order to activate her zero gravity. If she did that, she would have had control of Kacchan, even if he was to use his explosive and everything to try to propel himself and everything. She would have had the upper hand, but he already knew what she was going to do. But when you really look at the match, she knew, and everyone that studies Kacchan knows that he always starts with his right. And once you do that, you kind of already get the basis of what your character is going to do. So basically, she was always on the offensive while he was on the defensive. And even though part of her plan failed, her next plan was to use the debris from the explosions and use that once she releases it to actually hurt Kacchan, and then, use her part one of her plan against him. But of course, he realized that, and he kind of just crushed her second plan. And even though he did that, and like I said, even though he won, it was just really amazing to see like how Uraraka was just going in. Like, she was not going to give up. And I mean, it was just so amazing, and this gave her the character development, because we always see her as this very relaxed, somewhat calm, very, very funny type of individual, and she doesn't let a lot of things get to her. But when we found out that the whole reason of her becoming a hero was to help her family through the financial crisis that they had, this is when you had to start taking her character just a little bit more seriously. And I appreciate that Kacchan realized what type of opponent he was going against. It wasn't some type of weak or frail girl. It was someone that he can actually stand his ground against. And this goes to show that not everyone is afraid of Kacchan, no matter how strong and how amazing he is. Yes, he has amazing combative skills. Yes, he has amazing reflexive skills. But his biggest downfall, and anybody should have realized this, is his emotions, is his personality. And eventually he's going to face an opponent. If Uraraka and Deku are able to use that against him, imagine if he goes against another character that is stronger than both of them, and they use that against him. You know how much damage that could be done to Kacchan if he doesn't learn how to tone it down a notch or to humble himself, because he blows up on everything. That's why I said in last week's review that some characters' quirks goes along with their personalities, and for Kacchan, his explosive quirk and his explosive personality, just they tie the knot and everything. So for Kacchan, his biggest development will be to actually humble himself, and I cannot wait to see when that does happen. I do like him as a character, but he does need to tone it down a bit. So the next match, which I did not expect to start so soon, was the match between Todoroki versus Deku, and that is happening in the second round of the sports festival. So we know Deku is the pupil of All Might, and Todoroki is the son of Endeavor. And we know those two are rivals, and that Endeavor does not like All Might. He feels some type of way. He feels inferior to him. So what does he do? Even though all his plans has shot down to the ground, he pushes it all onto his son, and hence why his son has such animosity towards his own father, because he's the reason why his mother died, and the fact that he has not shown much of fatherly love towards his own son, and who knows what else he did to him to make Todoroki hate him so much to the point that he's saying he will not use his left side, he will only use his right side, which is his mother's quirk, the ice. So, and I also like the fact that Deku was able to tell Endeavor, because they did have a little conversation before he was about to go start his match, that he is not All Might and that Todoroki is not him. It goes to prove that, yes, we are similar in a sense, or we are related, but we are our own person, and we're going to end up not being like either of you. It's how we choose to be what we want at the end of it. And I can't wait to see how this match between these two characters who have such history with the two people involved with them, the history between these two characters actually clash. And it's almost going to be like we see where All Might and Endeavor is going against each other, but instead it's the pupil and the son going against each other. And then next week's episode, which is another episode I'm highly anticipating, is we're going to see a background during the match. We're going to see some background information on Todoroki's childhood growing up. So we're going to see how everything went down for him when he was a child, and with his father and his mother and such. And hopefully, as they stated back in last week's episode, that he had siblings. We'll possibly see who his siblings are if they plan to show them for next week's episode. So if you guys saw this week's episode of Boku no Hero Academia Season 2, Episode 9, do drop a comment down below on how you felt about this week's episode, as well as what are you anticipating for next week's between the match of Todoroki versus Deku. The links are in the description box as always, so you guys could check that out. And I'm Kacchan of Anime Legends Podcast, and I will see you guys later. Bye!